At a time when there have been rising accusations against the government for its feeble rule of law, another alleged embezzlement case has come to the light as the government has been charged of trying to seal a railway construction deal worth 35 billion rupees by completely overlooking the existing Procurement Act. The government in this case has been charged of not even carrying out basic works of mapping and distributing compensation before sealing the construction deal. Good morning, I'm Amar Singh Pradhan and these are the headlines of the hour. The total number of coronavirus cases in Nepal reaches 18,613. 130 new cases of COVID-19 reported yesterday. Community spread rises. The government prepares to hand over a railway contract worth 35 billion rupees overlooking the Public Procurement Act. Bargaining among the ruling and main opposition parties delays the appointment of officials at constitutional bodies. PM only reluctant in calling Constitutional Council meeting. And Manchester United and Chelsea clinch Champions League berth. Bournemouth and Watford relegated. Juventus land record 9th Serie A title. The number of coronavirus cases in Nepal has reached 18,613 as 130 new cases of COVID-19 were reported yesterday. Morung reported the highest number of cases at 23, while 8 cases were reported in the capital yesterday. According to the Health Ministry, a total of 4,075 swab samples were tested through the PCR method in 28 laboratories across the country, taking the total number of tests to more than 342,000. Meanwhile, 75 individuals registered full recovery yesterday, taking the total number of recoveries in the country to 13,128. With this, the recovery rate in the country stands at 70.53%. According to the Health Ministry, there are 5,440 active cases in the country, while 17,903 people are in different quarantine centers. Meanwhile, the death toll due to COVID-19 in the country stands at 45. The ministry also informed that more than 18,000 tests through the PCR method will be carried out every day in the country in a few days' time. The COVID-19 infection has been spreading at the community level with the lifting of nationwide lockdown. New cases are now being detected in people with no travel history. A total of 150 swab samples were collected from the security officials at the Province 1 police station after 5 police personnel tested positive for COVID-19 there. 19 positive cases were added to the total number of cases reported yesterday from the swab samples taken at the police station. The large number of infections found among the security itself has become a topic of investigation for the Health Ministry. Among the 8 new cases reported in Kathmandu yesterday, 4 cases included the police personnel. Infections being detected in police personnel who are deployed at various parts of the country to maintain peace and security in the country indicate the spread of COVID-19 at the community level, according to health experts. Rajbiras and Birgunj have already imposed prohibitory orders, whereas Biratnagar has tightened public services from yesterday onwards, speculating the spread of coronavirus at community level. Meanwhile, despite the surge of COVID-19 seen at the community level, people have not been taking necessary precautions. The Public Procurement Act says that a contract cannot be handed without removing obstruction in the construction site and without an environmental assessment and disbursing compensation. Several concerned authorities, including the parliamentary committees and the anti-graft body, have been directing the government to implement the provision of the Act. However, the government is preparing to forge a deal worth 35 billion rupees in the East-West Railway project by bypassing the Procurement Act. The Railway Department under the Physical Infrastructure Ministry is preparing to forge a contract worth 35 billion rupees to accomplish the project of dumping soil in the 106-kilometer long railway track stretched from Kakadvita to Inarwa. However, the works of mapping and distributing compensation in the area have not yet been carried out. Locals from Jhapa, Sunsari and Morung district met chief district officers of the 3 districts demanding information regarding the project construction site. However, the chief district officers could not furnish any replies to their queries. The government is responsible in settling the issue of environmental assessment and compensation as provisioned by the Public Procurement Act, and without settling these issues, contractors cannot start the project. The fate of more than 1,800 projects in the country has been uncertain due to the lack of proper preparation. The rush seen in sealing the project has been termed as dubious, suspecting massive foul play by the experts in the field. Likewise, the Railway Department is working to divide a single project into 54 sub-projects to nurture limited contractors instead of calling for international tenders. However, the deadline for submitting the tender expires this week, and 18 contractors will then force deals with the Railway Department. The department, however, failed to come up with a clear reason regarding its rush in signing the contracts. This has raised suspicion of financial embezzlement and breaching of the Act. The meeting of the Constitutional Council has been postponed until further notice, as political parties have failed to force consensus regarding the recruitment process in several constitutional commissions. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is not in a mindset to hold a meeting at a time when the political equation within the ruling party and with the main opposition is not in his favor. The Constitutional Council itself is uncertain, as there has been practice of recruiting officials based on political sharing and approach instead of competences. And we have more in this report.
There are 40 vacant posts in 11 constitutional bodies, including the Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority and the Election Commission, among others. However, the meeting of the Constitutional Council, which is assigned to recommend names for recruitment, has been deferred since November. However, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli is reluctant in holding the meeting due to the dispute within his own party and to avoid political sharing with the main opposition party in the recruitment process. The post of the Deputy Speaker, which is the key member of the Constitutional Council, is currently vacant. There is a practice of halting the Council's meeting due to the vested interests of the Council members, although there is a provision to hold the meeting with the presence of 4 members. There has been delay in appointing officials in the constitutional bodies, as there is a constitutional provision that the Deputy Speaker has to be appointed from a different party, among other reasons. In May, Prime Minister Oli introduced a controversial bill related to the Constitutional Council, which was later withdrawn. This has exhibited the ongoing power conflict among the concerned authorities regarding their recruitment process. The main opposition, meanwhile, is looking for a big share at a time when the Prime Minister is in minority within his party. Prime Minister Oli and Nepali Congress President Sher Bahadur Deuba thus have been holding several meetings. Such bargaining among both the ruling and the main opposition has been considered as normal for the departments that monitor the government's activities. Several constitutional bodies have been dragged into controversy due to the appointment of officials based on power sharing and bargaining instead of competencies. However, political leaderships have not shown any concern to quit such malpractice.
And in our Public Voice segment, we had asked the recovered patients of COVID-19 in Kailali and Udaipur, how have the neighbors and people in the community treated them after returning from isolation centers? Let's take a look at what they have to say.
नेगेटिभ आएर पनि अहिले पनि चाहिँ मान्छे अलिकता डराए जस्तै जसै नजिक नआउने टाढाबाट बोल्ने घरमा पनि नआउने भन्ने यस्तो समस्या छ अनि अर्को कुरा के छ भनेपछि हाम्रो वरपरको समाजले अलिकता बिमारीको बारेमा यो जागरुक नभए जस्तो लाग्यो मलाई किनकि मान्छे चाहिँ त्यो नाम सुनेरै डराउन लाग्यो
म आउनुभन्दा अगाडि नै यहाँ यस्तो हल्ला चलाइसकेको थियो कि उसको बिरामी छ रे सिरियस बिरामी छ त्यसैले त्यहाँ आइसोलेसनमा लगेका छन् रे भनेर चाहिँ अगाडि टोलमा चाहिँ कुराकानीहरू गर्थे तर म आइसकेपछि चाहिँ त्यस्तो भेदभाव गर्ने त्यस्तो चाहिँ गर्दैन
बाहिर हामी जानै गयौँ न यतातिरको ढोका खोल्याउन भित्रका भित्रै हौँ अब भाइ थियो बौरानी थियो तिनीहरूले खानेकुरा यता बिसाइदियो हैन अब राम्रो व्यवस्था थियो अब यस्तो बाहिरीको मान्छेले हामी देख्छौँ पनि देखेन उनले हामीलाई उनलाई पनि देख्यौँ
बाहिरी गएका छैन अब बाहिरी गयो भने अब छैन हामी थाहा छैन भन्ने हो
And now time for our segment Public Pulse, where it texts us with their opinion.
Public Pulse.
And the question is, what's your take on preparing the contract prior to deciding the railway construction area? Your options are option A, feeble government policy, option B, commission game, and option C, hastiness for development. The voting is on. Type in AWS, select your option A, B, or C. And it's now time for our special segment of the beat.
The residents of Olachungola, Taplejung had a hard time to bring the Chauri cows, a crossbreed of yaks and cows, to their rural village after a bridge over the Tamor River in the region was swept away by flooded waters. They eventually made the Chauri cows cross the Tamor River by tying ropes to their cattle. The Chauri cows that had gone to graze on the other side of the Olachungola could not return home in the evening as the bridge was swept away by the swollen river. The local residents needed to walk for 5 hours, following which they reached their stranded cattle and tied them with a rope to help them cross the river. The Infrastructure Development Ministry of Bagmati Province inaugurated some 32 bridges whose construction was completed in the past 2 years. Chief Minister of Bagmati Province, Dormani Podel, collectively inaugurated the 32 bridges at a press conference organized in the ministry itself last week. The inaugurated new bridges include one each in Kathmandu, Bhaktapur, Dhading, Sinduli and Ramichak. Likewise, 5 each in Lalitpur, Kavrepalanchok and Sindupalchok were also inaugurated. The inaugurated bridges also include 3 each in Dolakha, Chitwan and Nuakot and 2 in Makwanpur. The Infrastructure Development Ministry of Bagmati Province has stated that the construction cost of the 32 bridges stands at just over 730 million rupees. Local residents in Makwanpur's Raksirang and Kailash rural municipality have been compelled to go about their daily activities, risking their lives in the face of landslides and floods in the rainy season. The local residents from these municipalities need to undertake a risky journey to Manahari Bazaar to collect their daily essential items. After the Manahari River swept away the roadway, the residents from Chepang and Tamang community are compelled to undertake a difficult journey through narrow foothills. There are some 40,000 residents from the 2 rural municipalities who are putting their life at risk while crossing into the Manahari Bazaar, while the journey can take up to 3 days. 2 people were killed last season when they were swept away by the flooded river. The outlook of Bhaktapur municipality has been enhanced as even the inner thoroughfares of the municipality are being paved with traditional stones. The stones were paved by removing bricks on the main road, squares and inner thoroughfare. Renowned as a cultural city, Bhaktapur has now been even more beautified, donning a clear traditional look. Bhaktapur municipality has reverted into its previous identity after almost 37 years. During the construction of roads in the early 80s, the streets were paved with similar stones. But with the advent of the German project, Chinese bricks were used in all the streets excluding the premises at the main heritage site. This is Sarah Chitrakar for our special segment of The Beat and Kantipur News Desk.
And before we wrap up, here's a look at the top stories one more time. The total number of coronavirus cases in Nepal reaches 18,613. 130 new cases of COVID-19 reported yesterday. Community spread rising. The government prepares to hand over a railway contract worth 35 billion rupees overlooking the Public Procurement Act. Bargaining among the ruling and main opposition parties delays the appointment of officials at constitutional bodies. PM Oli reluctant in calling Constitutional Council meeting. Manchester United and Chelsea clinch Champions League berth. Bournemouth and Watford relegated. Juventus land record 9th Serie A title. And those were our latest headlines. Stay with us for more news and entertainment on KTVSD. Stay safe and good day.